We're gonna start over, Tony. So, what's a problem or adversity, conflict, or challenge that you've had to deal with in your life that you successfully overcame?
The U.S. Immigration Department.
Okay. Um, let's get some background information on that. Um, what in particular with?
Well, I came here uh, legal, went to school, and every year I had to renew my immigration papers. And in one of the years, they instead of putting the usual month, and I'm going to give you an example. It used to be May. I used to go to them. Not May. I used to go to them in June, July, and they put May. So they send back this little piece of paper, and I just stick it in my passport because every year I've been doing this. Well, it turned out that I was going to Canada for a wedding. It was there I discovered that my immigration status had expired, and I said no. I still have a month or two to go, and Canadian immigration showed me. And basically, make a long story short, the immigration office in Washington, they made a mistake and they refused to correct it. So I was out of status. They refused to correct it. I had to drop out of school with 22 credits to go. So my sister, who is a citizen, applied for me as a legal resident, and up to this day I have not heard from the U.S. Embassy in Jamaica. But I managed to get my status changed in '89.
Okay. Well, let's pause right there. You're doing great. Could you tell a little background information on yourself, leading up to the immigration problem, like where you're from?
I'm from Jamaica.
And
You ready?
sure.
I'm from Jamaica originally. Came here to go to school, UDC, and was doing pretty good. And what that did, their mistake, it set me back, I would say, 10, 15 years.
Wow.
Because I could not do anything legal, and eventually my status was changed to permanent, and I became a citizen some years after. But that one single action by the people who should know better set me back, I would say, 10, 15 years.
Wow. So that setback with immigration, when did it get to its worst for you? What would you say it hit a climax? This problem with the immigration, when did it get to its worst, where you had to you just had to make some changes or get a resolution going?
Well, I, like anybody else, I just took it one day at a time, did what I had to do, but there were certain things I couldn't do, certain jobs I couldn't get. Didn't. I wasn't able to finish school, college. I was like 22 credits short, and by the time I got my status change, well, it was just a big setback.
So because of their mistake, it affected your life. You weren't able to continue with school as you intended,
Yeah,
and that's probably when it was at its worst for you because you couldn't continue your education. It set you back really
correct,
far.
correct. And
Years.
I couldn't work at certain jobs,
Right.
and it wasn't my fault. It was theirs, and they never admitted
And
that.
what did they actually do that
Well,
What was the mistake on their part?
I used to, like I said, I used to send in my, I used to take in my, I think they called it I-20 form, which I had to get from the school and necessary paperwork to show that I was in school, etc., etc. And it used to be stamped every June, July. But they had, whoever stamped it the year before stamped it in May. I found out going to Canada. I was actually in Canada, at the Canadian border. Their immigration people had to take me back, and the guy at the border was so nasty, the U.S. immigration. And then I came back to Washington, and they never corrected it.
Wow. So let me ask you this. What did you do to successfully overcome this problem? What did you do to bring about resolution? How did you fix the problem? How did it get solved? What was that like?
They had a, what was it? I think it was President Reagan who had signed whatever it was, a law to whoever was here in this country legally for a number of years and could prove that they were here a number of years, were able to get their, not their citizenship, but their permanent residence. I know I didn't have that problem. I just got together with a lawyer friend of mine, and we put together everything, and then I got my status. But it set me back, and it has always bothered me that they knew that they made a mistake and never corrected it on the spot.
Did they ever admit to the mistake?
Nope.
So, could I
Sure, you can
ask,
interject.
I mean, is there any advice that you'd give to other people based on this experience?
Every time you deal with the U.S. immigration, make sure you don't do like what I did. Put that piece of paper, I just got it, put it in the passport without checking it. So make sure you check everything.
To make sure they stamped it right. Or
They stamped it right, because if I had noticed it at that time, it was nothing, it was to run back downtown and said,
get them to correct it.
you
Fix it.
made a mistake at that time, and probably would have been corrected.
Right.
But it really bothered me that they knew they made a mistake, and they never corrected it. And it set them back a lot.
Well, how are you doing these days? Do
Well,
you still feel like those 15 years really
you never get them back, my friend.
right?
You never get them back, but I'm all right. I'm a U.S. citizen today,
Great.
and I take one day at a time at my age.
That's a good
So,
thing.
but that has always bothered me.
Right. I could understand the frustration there, and wow, I wish you much success being a U.S. citizen. Much luck to you in the future, and thank you so much for sharing your story.
Well, it's just one of those stories among the hundreds I have.
We appreciate
Maybe
it.
we'll have to talk to you again sometime.
Sure thing.
All right.
You got the business card, and